Right, firstly, I always ask you, just how's the week been in training?
Good, I have to say. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean anything for what we'll get on Saturday. No guarantees, but I've been really pleased with the lads, with the effort and also some of the quality that we've seen. So positive on that front, but as I said, we all know what matters is 3 o'clock on Saturday.
I'll start with the injury stuff this week. Any update on Marco? How's he doing?
Fingers crossed better. Not earlier in the week, but today he was back out on the grass. We still need to do some checks. That's not me trying to play any games. He's obviously, goalkeeping isn't simply making saves, so there's kicking that we need to check on, certainly the longer stuff. But he was out there and seemed fine, made some good saves, so we're certainly hopeful that he could be available.
Is Tom Flanagan any closer for this weekend?
He's trained Tom, so as I said, providing he got all the training sessions in this week, then he comes into consideration. Yeah.
If he is available, would that see you revert to your favoured, or what's been favoured since you come back, formation?
That'd be telling, wouldn't it, I suppose. I think, I can't say that. I don't think, in all honesty, that will be, whether it's Tom or someone else, that will just be a decision made in terms of what feels best for the group and perhaps for opposition, but in general it'll probably be more what I feel suits us best.
In relation to the league table, obviously this weekend is an important game, important by a team around you.
Yeah.
Does that give a different feel to training at all?
I'm not sure. I guess you'd have to maybe ask the players on that side. From my point of view, nothing really changes. I think all I would say, and I think I said it last Saturday after the game, was that there's no point hiding away from the fact of the importance of the game, and there's obviously a rivalry there anyway, so it just adds an extra layer for me more than anything. Don't believe in, I never try and put extra pressure on players. I don't think you get the best out of them, but at the same time, I think last Saturday, with 10 games to go, we've almost reached that point where we have to really look at the situation and the table and understand, like I said, the importance of every game, but starting with this game at Port Vale.
I know you said you look at the table but maybe not study it that closely. Are you starting to look at it more at this point? Did you say look at Tuesday night's result with Cheltenham and the Charlton game? Do you pay any heed to that?
Yeah. And I do look at the table quite a lot, and in the past I've done scenarios even when I was a player, trying to work out points, and it's stupid, but I did it. And I will continue looking at the table. I think what I would say to add to that though is we know that if we do our jobs and can get the points we feel we can, then we'll be fine, irrespective of the table or what it looks like. We'll finish above that line. But I think anyone that says they don't look at this stage of the season, I think are lying, even though I'm sure some managers, head coaches out there will be saying that. And the table can look very different after every sort of set of games that arise, and nothing will be decided on Saturday, good or bad result for us, but it might change the picture, and again, with 30 points to play for, we've got to start picking some of those up.
There'll be some players that love the pressure and some that don't. How do you deal with both kind of personalities in that situation?
Again, I guess I'm not sure I'm in the best position to judge who is and who isn't. I can make some assumptions, I think, but we haven't been in this situation really together as such. But ultimately, I think you can just look at people's faces sometimes, and I think a natural thing is younger and older, and that's a bit generic, but I think that would sort of cover quite a lot of the players, and maybe look at the careers, what they've been through themselves. But it's just trying to, give a bit of assurance to some that they are good players, that we can be a decent team, but we've got to do that obviously a lot more consistent than has happened across all of the season, never mind since the games that we've been involved in, and just ultimately play the game. It's cliche, but it is play the game, because you've heard me say it before, it's the same. It starts off 11v11, on a grass pitch with 2 goals, and let's focus on performance, but be ready for a battle. That's what I would say. It's like I said, a derby game. I fully expect Port Vale to come out of the traps flying, really try and press us, and we've got to be ready for that and stand up to it.
What about you as a player and a manager? Do you kind of enjoy that battle, that little bit of pressure? Do you thrive on it?
I'd rather be playing, because then you can, really show that you are up for the game. As a manager, I think you've got to try and keep a cooler head and certainly not get sucked into, what's happening and make rash decisions yourself. And I think that's easier when you stood on the side, in all honesty. Try not to get too wound up or involved. That doesn't mean you don't care, which I think you sometimes get accused of. It's all right when you're winning, you're very thoughtful and you're tactical, and when games you're losing and you kind of stood there thinking about the game, it means you don't care, which is obviously a load of rubbish, but that's again assumptions that people make. But I think for me as manager, I've got to give the team the best opportunity and try and make the right decisions to help us get the points that we want.
I was having a little look at the stats this morning, and as the team in this season, they're the team that have conceded more goals in the second half than they have in the first half. So I think there's conceded 34 goals in the second half compared to 17 in the first half. And I just wondered, why do you think that is? What do you think is the difference in that?
I guess the most obvious thing that people would jump to would be fitness. Now, I'm not going to say I totally disagree with that, but at the same time, concentration, it might be chasing games. Sometimes you're not happy, but if you concede another goal in that second half because you're trying to get back into a game, that can lead to it, or you're trying to win it. So it's hard to say overall, I would suggest, but in terms of fitness, I think we would have liked the lads to be fitter across the squad, certainly. But I guess a lot of managers that come into a club often say that, and I don't want to just sort of throw that out as a lazy comment, but it's what I feel I've witnessed. We spoke about 3 games in a week, and now I think that's been difficult. Although we saw it only happen twice, it's going to happen again very quickly for us next week. That looks like it's been hard for some of the players to deal with.
Is there ever an element of players not wanting to make a mistake and maybe not wanting to be the one that puts themselves on the, not put themselves on the line, but just not want to be the one that makes a mistake?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think it would be naive to think otherwise. And again, that's trying to get into their minds and get them to have that attitude of being brave, being courageous, not shy away from getting the ball, or hide behind a defender and pretend you want it. And getting on the ball is one of the biggest things there, because in general, without it, you can run and make a tackle or move across the pitch, but when you're on the ball, like you said, you're under, I guess, more pressure, and you're more likely to make that mistake that might cost your team. So there's an element you have to be brave, and that's what we'll ask of the players. Some of what we've done training this week is trying to put people under pressure in certain situations to deal with the football, and if they can do that, like I said, I think we've got some players that can do that, and we need to see more of it. That will then help us, certainly be a little bit more creative.